The Simpsons has visited multiple timelines over the years, with some being far more positive than others. Due to the static nature of The Simpsons canon, the characters never age, even as the world seems to adjust to fit into modern events. That has opened up the show to tell multiple non-canon stories set in possible futures, depicting what could happen to Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie as they get older. Notably, some of these futures are positive for the family, while others are surprisingly grim. Some of them have been revisited repeatedly, showcasing the ways the family could grow in future generations, while others highlight bittersweet futures for the family. Others highlight some somber possible directions for the family, with a few even depicting the apparent end of the world. Here are all the possible future timelines that The Simpsons has teased over the years. The first possible future for The Simpsons was all the way back in Season 4, establishing a trend that's been revisited several times over the years. In Season 4's Itchy and Scratchy the movie, Homer punishes Bart's latest pranks by keeping him from seeing the titular film. Homer's argument, spurred on by Marge and Miss Crabapple, is that with discipline, Bart could grow up to become a huge success, even achieving the role of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. A flash forward at the end of the episode reveals this actually did come to pass in this timeline. It's a brief gag, but a fun one, especially as the now elderly Homer finally sits down with Bart to watch the film. This timeline was also seemingly revisited in Flanders' Ladder, which ended with a montage of how many of the show's most important characters would die in this future. This includes Bart, shown to be the Chief Justice, setting off a prank that kills Skinner, which then backfires and gets him killed. This timeline also goes in some unexpected directions, such as a widowed Marge marrying Ned Flanders, Ralph Wiggum eventually taking over the world, and Maggie becoming one with the universe. Introduced in Season 6's Lisa's Wedding, the flash-forward told to Lisa is largely focused on a college-aged Lisa and her great thwarted romance. While the rest of the family remains healthy and happy in Springfield, Lisa attends Oxford and falls in love with the wealthy Hugh. The Springfield of this timeline is largely similar to the present day, albeit with some new career paths for characters. Bart has found his calling as a construction worker, while Maggie has developed an angelic singing voice. Homer and Marge remain as happy as ever. Meanwhile, Lenny and Carl are shown as major figures at the nuclear plant. Milhouse has taken Smithers' job as Homer's direct superior, and Professor Frink is hard at work restoring a near-death Mr. Burns after he was repeatedly stabbed. Other characters whose futures are teased include a highly successful Otto and a disgraced Mayor Quimby. Unfortunately, despite the Simpsons' well-meaning attempts to welcome Hugh into their family, Hugh is revealed to be excited to bid farewell to all of them. This prompts a rift that splinters the wedding before it can ever begin, leaving the present-day Lisa reaffirmed in her connection to her family. Season 11's Bart to the Future operates in a similar fashion to Lisa's Wedding, showing Bart a possible future through a potentially mystic source. In this timeline, Bart and Lisa have gone very different paths in life, with Bart largely remaining at home in Springfield while Lisa becomes President of the United States. In this timeline, Bart never realized his true potential, and instead gets by relying on the generosity of his parents and Ned Flanders. Alongside his bandmate/roommate, Ralph Wiggum, Bart initially gets by working for Nelson Muntz, who owns a beach bar in town. Bart to the Future includes one of the most infamous times The Simpsons predicted real life, as a throwaway gag in the episode suggests that Lisa's predecessor in the White House was Donald Trump. Although she's far more successful, President Lisa Simpson still faces plenty of challenges. With Milhouse as her chief of staff, Lisa struggles to deal with the pressures of being a world leader while also contending with Homer and Marge, who find themselves dedicated to finding the lost gold of Abraham Lincoln. The most consistent future glimpsed for the Simpsons family, multiple episodes have visited a specific potential future. In this timeline, Bart and Lisa both got married and had families of their own, with both eventually living in Springfield despite divergent career paths. Meanwhile, Maggie went on to become a world-famous musician before having a daughter. Season 16's future drama introduced teenage versions of Bart and Lisa, along with Bart's love interest, Jenda. Season 23's Holidays of Futures Past revisited them later, introducing Bart's sons Jif and Skippy by Jenda, while establishing that Lisa eventually married Milhouse and gave birth to a daughter, Zia. Days of Future Future was largely focused on the ways technology evolved in this timeline, as well as delving into Bart's relationship with his ex-wife, Jenda. Season 29's Mr. Lisa's Opus was an episode focused on Lisa's entire life, but it shares many notable aspects of this timeline. Despite seemingly killing off Homer and Marge in a comical way, this timeline was seemingly revisited in Season 35's It's a Blunderful Life. The framing device for that episode revisits a timeline with Zia, Jif, and Skippy, only decades later. The family has expanded in the decades since the present day, and Homer is revealed to have lived a long life before peacefully passing away. Season 27's Barthood focuses on Bart growing up in a parody of Boyhood, with flashbacks to his younger years giving way to an extended plotline about Bart as a teenager. As opposed to other versions of the Springfield future, this timeline is a much more grounded and realistic setting. Bart's primary issues in this timeline stem from being overshadowed by Lisa, even as he tries to make his mark as a skateboarder and artist. After the death of Abe Simpson, Bart becomes a moody teen and drifts apart from Lisa after a falling out just before she goes to college. However, this argument is what prompts Bart to follow his passions and open a custom bike shop. This proves to be a great outlet for Bart's artistic abilities, as well as a way of keeping him connected to Abe, even years after he passed away. The episode's ending reveals that Bart and Lisa eventually do reconcile. This timeline also ends on the suggestion that Lisa has ended up with a well-adjusted version of Nelson, hinting that it won't be like the other future where Lisa has a daughter with Milhouse. Another timeline where Lisa ended up in a romance with Nelson was the focal point of Season 34's When Nelson Met Lisa. That episode, a loose parody of When Harry Met Sally, focused on how Lisa and Nelson's lives could be impacted by a long-term will-they-won't-they relationship. In this timeline, Lisa is still drawn to Nelson and almost runs away with him after graduation, but decides to pursue her higher education ambitions. Lisa ends up married to Hubert Wong, a fellow genius who proves to be incompatible with her personality. Despite multiple attempts to reconcile, Lisa and Wong eventually broke up. Eventually, Lisa and Nelson find themselves opposite one another as the maid of honor and best man at the wedding of Jimbo Jones and Krusty's daughter, Sophie. This spurs on a reunion and decision to make an actual attempt at a long-term romance. The future of this timeline isn't shown any further down the line, but it's possible that this was a world where Lisa and Nelson were able to make a long-term romance work. It's possible they even had a child, this world's version of Zia. Many glimpses into the future of The Simpsons have suggested that Lisa will go on to become a powerful and important political figure. This is even true in Season 32's Mother and Child Reunion. In this timeline, Lisa decides not to pursue a college degree, taking some unintended advice from Bart to focus on herself. This leads to a long-running feud between Lisa and a disappointed Marge. After years, Lisa throws herself into the world of education, eventually replacing Superintendent Chalmers before rising in the ranks of politics to become governor and then president. This timeline is also notably one of the most promising ones for Bart. In this world, Bart eventually shaped up his act without losing his sense of self, becoming the CEO of a successful cannabis company. This version of Bart is also shown to be well-adjusted and close with the whole family, eventually playing a big part in convincing Lisa and Marge to get over their feud. The most recent possible future glimpsed in The Simpsons was the focus of Season 36's A Stranger Things. In this timeline, Bart and Lisa drifted apart over time, a problem that was only exacerbated after Marge passed away from an unknown cause.